Hey everybody, Sam Ovens here and welcome back. So just the other day, you attended my webinar on how to start a consulting business and how to get clients and really scale it up. And thank you for attending that webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. And then since that webinar, a lot of people who attended have been writing in and asking lots of questions or telling me about some problems or issues that they've been facing since attending. Now, the first big problem that came up was a lot of people weren't sure about their niche. And this is a really good question. And what I did is I shot a video and I sent it out to everyone. You would have got the email and I created a full video training on how to know if you've chosen the right niche and really how to know how to build up confidence and a belief in yourself that you can do it and that you can really go out and start your own consulting business. So if you missed that video, I've put a link to it just below this one. So you can scroll down and you can check that video out right now. And then a few more people were writing in and they had questions about getting clients. And it became quite obvious to me that a lot of people had a whole bunch of fear and uncertainty around being able to get clients for themselves. Or maybe not getting clients, but getting the high value clients that most people find very hard to get. So this was a problem that a lot of people had. And again, I shot a video for you explaining my full process for getting clients from A to Z. I walked you through exactly how we do it, how we use Facebook. I ran through all of the numbers and I even showed you my sales script, which is something which I call the 7-figure sales script. So I sent that video out to you via email as well. If you missed it, there's a link below this video and you can go check that out right now. Now, today in this video here, I want to talk about fear. And I also want to present 3 different case studies to you. And these are some amazing case studies, so this is definitely one that you do not want to miss. So what happened is, a lot of people were writing in again, and a lot of people have been writing in via email, sending me messages, and a lot of people were saying, well, Sam, I think I know what to do. Like, I think I've got a niche, or I trust the process will be able to help me get a niche. And Sam, I think this process will definitely help me get clients, and your sales process sounds really good, but something's still just holding me back. And I can't really describe it in words. Like, I don't even know what it is. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable, or I'm not 100% convinced. Something's holding me back. I'm a little bit doubtful and I'm a little bit scared. And that's a really good question. And everyone is going to be coming up against this and everyone is going to be facing it. And that is totally fine and totally normal. It's to be expected. So whenever you go to do something new, or whenever you go to push yourself and to really try and up-level yourself, you're going to come up against resistance. And I always say that, just like in a video game, when you go to the next level, it gets more difficult. It's harder to play at that higher level. And also there's more resistance. And the same is true in life. If you want to take your business from a small business to a bigger business, you're going to come up against some resistance. And if you want to change your life, if you want to go from making a mediocre income as a 9-to-5 employee and you want to have a life of freedom and make 6 figures or 7 figures as a consultant, of course you're going to come up against some resistance. Now, how that resistance shows up most of the time is fear. And it's fear of what might happen or fear that things might not work out. And what this looks like most of the time is thinking about the future too much. So what I've realized is a lot of people, when they go to start businesses, they just think right out into the future. They start thinking about, their first week in the program, their first month. They start thinking about their first year. Then they think about the second year and third year, and then they just blow it right out. And they're thinking about all of these different things they're going to have to do, all of these different things which they might have to learn, and they just completely psych themselves out. And what I call that is just having too much future. And it might sound a little bit weird right now, but I'll just draw you a quick diagram to show you what I mean by that. And it's because fear crippled me too. When I was getting started in business, I could hardly get out of bed in the morning. I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, I've got to wake up, I've got to send emails, I've got to try and confront people, try and win new business. I don't want to face the day, I'll stay in bed longer. And then if I could get myself out of bed, I would get in my car and drive around, like I would drive through expensive streets and just look at the houses just to try and get motivation in myself. And I'd also like drink 2 coffees. Sometimes I'd drive around for like 1 or 2 hours before I had the confidence to go back and face the day. And then when I started doing sales calls, I'm not kidding you at all, I quite often, even though I don't really want to admit it, I would drink about 4 or 5 beers before I would even start calling people on the phone. And that's not a good lesson. Don't take that as advice. That is bad advice. But that's one thing I used to do. I'd just listen to music and I'd have some beers, and then I'd feel a little bit more confident, and then I'd start calling people on the phone. And I had massive fear, probably more fear than you have right now. And I'm an introvert. Like, I actually am one. On all the tests and everything, I'm a big introvert. And throughout school and throughout my entire life, I haven't been extroverted or wanted to go out and talk to people or do things like that. So starting my own business completely on my own and having to go out and get sales and things, it was a big challenge for me. And I came up against a ton of resistance and a ton of fear, and I had no one to help me out. So, I went through a lot of struggle. And here's what I learned about this. And this is really important, and you're going to want to pay close attention to this. So we basically live in these 3 different areas on this line here. And one of these areas is the past. One of these areas is the present. And one is the future. Now, what we do is, there's these 3 different states, and when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about where your mind is, what you're thinking about, what you're worrying about. So, a lot of people, this probably isn't very true for people watching this video, because I know if you're watching this video that you're probably someone who has too much future. But this is a big one for a lot of people. A lot of people, they're stuck in the past. They can't let go of things that happened in the past, and they keep replaying memories of things that happened in the past. A teacher might have told you at school that you're no good at math. Someone might have told you you're no good at English. Someone might have told you you're dumb. Someone might have told you that you'll never amount to anything. All of these people tell us all of these different things. And a lot of people can't let go of the past, and they live there. They replay the memories again and again and again inside their heads, and it cripples them and paralyzes them, and they can't do anything about it. In the current day, they're just frozen and paralyzed. They can't take action. So this is one state to live. And when you're living in this state, you are always depressed. So if you have too much past, you will be depressed. And these days they're trying to pump people full of all of this different medicine and all of these different drugs. And really, I don't think that's a very good method for fixing things. Sure, some people have chemical imbalances and things like that, but I think for the most part, people just have too much past. And they need to learn how to get out of it. They need to first of all recognize it, then they need to get out of it, and then they need to have a process and a system for getting out of it whenever they get stuck back here again. So that's one state you can be living in. The other state on the other side of this continuum is too much future. And this is where you are probably living right now, because this is where I've found most entrepreneurs live. Entrepreneurs are generally, or people who want to be entrepreneurs, they're typically quite optimistic people, and they don't really have a case of this, they have a case of this. And if you have too much future, you are always anxious. So just put there anxiety. And this is what I had. I had a massive case of this. So when I was getting started, I couldn't help but think about, is what I'm going to do today, is that going to steer me in the right direction for where I want to be in a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 20 years, or the rest of my life? And I would plan, like I was a big planner. I'd always be planning things, writing lists, like thinking about where things would lead to and researching and trying to get the perfect plan. And, I was just constantly thinking. My whole days were just occupied with thoughts about the future. And, you can feel like you're achieving stuff because you're actually using your brain and you're actually thinking. But all you're really doing by thinking about the future too much is causing yourself a lot of harm and a lot of anxiety. And if you do live in the future, it's very hard to take action today. Because what happens is if you look too far out, there's a lot of stuff you've got to do. There's a lot of things you've got to learn, there's a lot of things you've got to do, and there's a lot of things which you don't know, and to be quite honest with you, that you can't even forecast them. People can't even forecast the weather, like for the next 7 days. How the hell are you supposed to forecast, the next year? It's impossible. So a lot of people have too much anxiety, and it causes massive harm. And if you do have too much future, you'll overwhelm yourself and you won't even take action right now or today. And that means that, these two different states where most entrepreneurs live, or most people live, they're extremely dangerous for you. And if you get stuck in these two places, you will never get anything done, you'll never be successful. And the place to be living and the place to be thinking is about right now. So here in the present. And the present is this current day. And everything changed for me in my business and in my life. Like I started to make way more money. I started to live with way less fear and anxiety and everything else when I figured this out. So I wrote down in my goals, I was like, this year I'm going to live in day-tight compartments. And what I meant by that is, I just pictured my day as it was locked in this little compartment here. So I said to myself, I'm going to live in day-tight compartments, and I'm only going to think about the current day. So the question I asked myself when I woke up every morning was, how can I make money today? I used to think about how can I make money with a business like in the next sort of 5 years or 1 year, and what that led to was me, doing tasks that weren't necessary and me planning for the future that probably wasn't even going to happen anyway. So I decided to start living in day-tight compartments, and I started taking action every single day. And when I started doing this, everything shifted for me, everything changed, and that's when I started to have some massive breakthroughs. And still to this day, I ask myself, what can I do today to make things happen? And, as of right now, my current goal every single day is to make at least 25,000. So when I wake up in the morning, I want to make 25 grand a day, every single day. And I'm pleased to tell you that I'm doing significantly more than that. And I have done for more than 4 months now. There hasn't been a single day where I've been less than that. And so that's my focus now. And I used to think so broad. I used to worry about what my year was going to look like. I worried about what 2 years, 3 years, 5 years would look like. And guess what? I had some awesome plans. I was able to describe my plan and it sounded very attractive to everyone, but I never achieved anything. And so now I don't really have many plans. Like I have a rough plan, but I achieve a lot. And it's because I cut out this and I cut out that and I just focus on the present. I just focus on today. And so if you've been watching my webinar and if you've been watching these videos and you're thinking, I want to start my own consulting business. I want to make a change in my life. I want to quit my job. I want to have a life of freedom and abundance. I want to make a bigger income. I want to improve the situation for my family. I want to do all of these things. Well, that's awesome. It all starts with wanting it. The second thing is knowing that you have someone to mentor you and knowing that you have a process to follow. And so I'll say this again. Number one is wanting it. So, this is where it all starts. Just telling yourself, you know what, I'm not happy with what I've got right now. I want to change and I want it bad and I'm going to do it. That's where it all begins. Then, number two is having a mentor and process. And this is crucial. I went at it alone. I didn't have a mentor and I didn't have a process. I had to figure it all out on my own. And it was horrible. It was hell, and I wish no one else should ever have to go through that again. I had to go figure everything out on my own. It was very wasteful. I spent a lot of money. I got into debt, and I burned through a lot of hours of my life and really years of my life that I'll never get back. And it all could have been, all of that failure, waste, and trial and error could have been removed, and I could have shortcut my path to success if I had a mentor and I had a proven process to follow. And that is the second thing, and that is vital. That's the difference between getting to where you want to go in 6 months to a year to getting to where you want to go in 20 to 30 years or maybe never. So this is vital. And the third step is take action today. If you have these three things, there really is no way that you're not getting to where you want to go. You first of all recognize you want it. Second, you get a mentor and a proven process. And third, you cut out the past, you cut out the future, and you just think about today. And right now, you have the ability to join my brand new Consulting Accelerator program. It's my 6-week online course, and it shows you how to start your own consulting business from scratch and get your first high-value client in just 42 days' time. And right now you can enroll in that program. You get me as a mentor, and you get to follow my proven process. And I can tell you without a single word of doubt that this is the best mentor and the best process that you can possibly have in the entire world right now to start and grow your own consulting business. So you have this one covered. If you enroll in the accelerator, you've ticked this off. Now, if you're watching this video, if you attended my webinar, then I think it's safe to assume that you want it. You want to make a change in your life, you want more, you want some abundance, you want an increased income. Now, you're left with this third one here, which is to take action today. So stop thinking about your past, stop thinking too far into the future. You're never going to achieve anything doing it. All you're going to do is cause yourself harm, and not just mental harm and pain, but actual, pain that materializes in the real world as well through not being able to take action, having, a decreased income and things like that. So very important to only think about today and take action today. And right now, as I shoot this video, you can still enroll in the Consulting Accelerator. This can be the start of you taking action today. You can scroll down, you can click that button, and we can get you enrolled today. We'll get you into the course today, we'll get you into the Facebook group today, and we'll actually get you learning today and starting to take action today. And there's a lot of todays in what I just said, and that's for a reason. People who get results, they don't think, oh, I'll do that in 6 months. I'll tell you what, there's people who send me emails, like some of my friends and stuff, they're like, yeah, because they've known that I've been helping people start consulting businesses for years. And like 4 years ago, some of my friends were like, yeah, man, once I finish college, then they finish college. They're like, oh yeah, once I, get it, once I do about a year worth of work, and they did that. Or once I do this, once I do that, or once I do that, or after I get back from this vacation, or not, right now isn't perfect timing. These are all the things I hear. Well, though that there, if you kind of grab all of those different statements that I said and you pull them all together, that's the voice of failure. And if you say things like that, you're never going to get what you want ever. There is the only perfect time to do anything is right now. There will never be a perfect time. Like if you're thinking, oh, I'll wait until I have to do this or do that or do that, let me tell you, by the time you do that, there'll be something else. And so it's very important to recognize these things and understand that if you continue to, fall for these patterns, that you're never going to get what you want and you're never going to be successful. So it's so important and so vital to take action today. And I encourage you right now to scroll down, click that big green button. Let's get you enrolled in the accelerator, and let's tick this third one off for you right now. So, that's kind of some of my thoughts on fear and how to handle it. That's how I've been able to personally handle it for myself. And that's how I recommend that you go about handling fear for yourself as well. Now what I want to do is introduce you to 3 case studies of mine. So behind these sheets, there's some different case studies. I just want to walk you through them. They're male and female. It's quite funny. I've got a lot of male clients, and a lot of girls have been writing in and saying, does this work for women or does this work for girls? And it's quite funny. So I was like, well, I've got to include some female case studies this time. And yes, it does work, and I've included some female case studies. So what I want to do right now is just walk you through these case studies and tell you how, these people who have achieved big things, they are going through the same fear that you're going through right now. A lot of people think that successful people don't have fear. A lot of people think when they're getting started that, those guys that make 7 figures, or Sam who's making, a lot of money, I don't think they were worried about this stuff. They must have just gone about their business and it just must have been easy for them. And they must have just flown through the whole process without feeling any resistance or fear. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. I had crippling fear worse than you can possibly imagine. I just told you about it. And so did all of these case studies. And they got through it and they achieved amazing results. So I want to share those with you right now. Let's get this all cleaned up. So let's start with case study number 1. And this is Andrew Argue here. So Andrew Argue, he lives in Miami, in Florida, and Andrew has a really awesome story. He used to be an accountant at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and he decided that he didn't really like his job as an accountant, and so he decided to quit and start his own business. And he started his own business, kind of helping different companies with their websites and digital marketing. And then Andrew, he did pretty well for himself. He struggled for a long time, but then he grew his business up to the point where it was making $17,000 a month. So he started off, 9-to-5 job, then struggled, then I think it took him about 1 year to grow to 17 grand a month. And don't get me wrong, 17 grand a month is, it's a lot of money, and there's some amazing results. Then Andrew came to me on the 5th of January 2016 when he was making $17,000 a month. And that's when we started working together, and he went through this process and this program. And what I helped Andrew do is, before he was a generalist, he was helping anyone with digital marketing or their websites. So he had a range of different clients. He had software companies, accountants, lawyers, you name it. He had a broad spectrum and a broad range of different businesses. And I said, well, Andrew, we need to get you some focus. I mean, you look like an accountant, you are an accountant, you've worked at an accounting firm, you know how to speak their language, you understand them, and you've already got accountant clients. Why don't we just focus you on accounting? So that's what we did. We first of all got him focused. And then Andrew was selling done-for-you work. Like, he was actually doing the marketing for the companies. And I said, well, why don't we get you, why don't we just focus you on accounting, and then let's figure out a proven process to get results for accountants. So Andrew started working with accountants only, and he started helping accountants get results. And then after only about a month or two, he realized that the work he was doing for all of these different accountants was the same. Like, the work he did to help one accountant would be the same work as he did to help another accountant. And this is what I call a proof of concept. This is when you focus on one niche and you do the same work again and again, and you realize that it really is the same thing that you're doing. And once you achieve that, you have a proof of concept. And so I helped Andrew achieve that. And once we had that proof of concept, I told Andrew that we could go from, instead of doing the work for the accountants, we can now just advise them and tell them what to do. we can teach them. We can say, hey, look, here's what you need to do and here's how to do it, and get them to do the work themselves. And I call this moving from done for you, which I call DFY, to done with you, DWY. And while it might not seem like a big shift, this is instrumental to make a big income. And so when you're doing done for you, you're stuck. You're like a slave or a mule. You have to do all of the work, and it's hard. It's time consuming and tedious. And your income is capped when you do done for you. But when you do done with you, you can have a lot of different clients, and it's up to them to implement the work. The value you provide is knowing the process for the particular niche. And so I helped Andrew achieve that. And then I also helped Andrew, he used to try random things to get clients. He would try LinkedIn messaging, he'd try cold email, he would get referrals, he would, he'd do just random things like that to try and get clients, and it worked, but only so well, and it wasn't predictable at all. And I helped him go from, hope marketing and random acts of marketing to having a proven system to get clients. So in the previous video, I showed you my process for getting clients. Well, I took that and I gave it to Andrew and I helped him adjust it for his niche. And then Andrew had a predictable system to get clients. And he didn't just have a predictable system to generate the appointments. I gave him my 7-figure sales script as well, and I trained him on how to do that. And so I taught him not only how to generate appointments, but how to close appointments. And that is all of the work that we did together. And in 5 months' time, I'm not kidding at all, 5 months' time, all of this happened. I took Andrew through all of this, and we took him from 17 grand a month to $215,000 a month. I know that doesn't even sound real, but it's 100% true. And just the month after, he went to $240,000 a month. So we went from 17 grand a month to 240 grand a month. And guys, that's over $2.5 million a year. Do you know how ridiculous that is? And all of this happened within 5 months' time. And if you don't believe me, you can check Andrew argue out, you can research him, you can do whatever you want. And he's also shot me a testimonial video, and it's included below this video. So if you scroll down, you can hear it from Andrew himself. He went through this. This is exactly his story. He achieved these results. And this is how powerful this program and this training is. So that's case study number 1. And you might be thinking, oh, well, Andrew already was making this much money. And you're right. Like I told you, this program is for a couple of different types of people. One is people who want to start out, go from scratch. 2 is people who are already in business and they want to grow. And, Andrew was someone who was already in business and wanted to grow. Now I want to share a case study of someone who was, starting from scratch. So case study number 2, and we put a girl in it this time, which is, I got to do more of this. So a lot of people are asking in the questions, Sam, do you work with females? And the answer is yes. I have a lot of female clients. It works just as well for them as it does for men. It's just so happened that most of the case studies I share and talk about have been men, and I don't even know why it is. And I'm going to change that now because people have brought my attention to it. So yes, it works for men and women, and it works just as well. And another thing a lot of people are saying to me is, Sam, a lot of these people, they do marketing or they do business to business stuff. Does this work for areas that aren't marketing or niches that aren't to do with business? And the answer again is a very clear yes. And that's why I threw in this case study. So this is Brittany Brown. There's a photo of Brittany. And Brittany Brown owns a business called beatbingeeating.com. So you can search that one up, beatbingeeating.com. And Brittany started with me in January of 2016. And she was just trying to get this thing off the ground and was struggling big time. She would do different posts on Instagram to try and get clients. She'd then get on the phone with them and talk for hours. And she was trying all sorts of random things to get clients. And she was doing retreats, she was coaching people one-on-one on the phone, and she was just overwhelmed with all of these different offers. And when Brittany started with me, she was really struggling, hardly making enough money to really even survive as an entrepreneur, and was strongly considering going back and taking a 9-to-5 job. And so her income, I'd say it was definitely below $1,000 a month. If it was higher than $1,000, it was definitely not higher than $2,000. So lower than most jobs, right? And she started off here, and Brittany she herself had beaten binge eating, and she thought, well, surely other girls have this issue too. Surely I can help other people with this. And she wanted to start a business around it, but really struggled to get clients, and really struggled to charge high prices, and really struggled to have one uniform thing which she could sell, and she ended up having all of these random things to sell. And so what I did with Brittany is we took all of her random stuff and we just got rid of all of it. We cleared the slate completely, and we created just one thing, one service. And we made that service $2,000. We made it high. Typically her services were down at $200 or $300. So, we did that, and Brittany was so scared. She was like, there's no way people are going to buy this at $2. I was struggling to sell them at $200. How are we going to sell them at $2,000? And I used to offer all of this stuff. Don't people want more stuff? And I was like, no, this is all wrong. You don't give people too many options. They can never choose. And if you do too many things, none of them will be any good. So we want to focus on one, make it very good, and we want to make it high priced and very focused. And that's what I did with Brittany. So we took her prices, we increased her pricing big time, we cleared her slate, and I also took my client generating machine, which I showed you in the webinar and on these previous videos, and we gave Brittany my client generating machine, client appointment generating machine, and we got that installed in her business, and we got it set up and working for her. So we did those different things for her business, and she started I think it was the 14th of January 2016, and in 6 months she's grown her business to $65,000 a month. How about that? 65 grand a month. That's over $700,000 per year. That's a lot of money. And with this, with that, she's also got more freedom. She was burnt out, frustrated, and fatigued trying to make like $1 or $2 grand. She actually has more time and more energy now, making 65 grand a month. And what's cool is she's only really getting started here. This is going to be over 100 grand a month very quickly. Now, what I want to tell you about, these two case studies, or all three of them really, but I'll just tell you about these two right now, is that you might think, well, these guys achieved amazing results, and surely they didn't go through fear. Well, Andrew Argue went through a ton of fear, and he told me about it. He from going to college and putting himself through that, he got himself into a lot of debt, as a lot of people do with student loans and things like that. And after that, he was so worried, he was so fearful, that he went into this massive saving mindset, and he didn't spend money on anything. And he told me that he didn't even buy a couch for him and his wife. They didn't even have a couch in their apartment. They would just sit on the floor. And he didn't even buy a plastic trash can. They would just use a plastic bag and then walk it out to the trash and throw it out there. And he was so tight and so worried about money that he could hardly live life and enjoy himself. And he found himself the cheapest apartment he possibly could on Airbnb. And it was really costing him his livelihood and things like that. And so, Andrew went from having massive fear, more fear than you and I probably have put together. And he worked through this and he achieved these results. Now, Brittany Brown, she had massive fear too. She had a fear that, people wouldn't even buy her stuff at $200. She had a fear of where her next check was going to come from to make rent and do all of those things. Brittany had massive fear. And, what's important and what I want to show you with these case studies is that these people who have gone through and achieved these amazing things, they were confronted and faced with massive fear as well. So was I, so did they, and it is totally normal. And so if you're facing this fear right now of getting started, just let me tell you first of all, it's totally normal. It's just to be expected. Everyone has it. And all you've got to do is just take action. Action drives out thought. It's like if you're standing on the side of a swimming pool. You know what that's like. If you're standing on the side of a cold pool, if you stand there too long and think about it, it's so hard to jump in. You probably won't even do it. If you stand there for too long, you're going to psych yourself out way too much. And you're going to be like, screw this, I'm not even swimming today. You're just going to walk back. But if you walk up to the pool and you just jump in, it's like, oh, that was quicker than I thought, I'm over it now, and now I'm having fun, now I can enjoy myself. That's exactly what fear is like with business too. The longer you sit at the starting line, the longer you analyze all of these different moves, all of these different options, all of these different possibilities, the longer you plan things out, it's a trick. Because you think that you're being smart by thinking and analyzing everything. But really, all you're doing is analyzing the unpredictable, which is a worthless use of your time anyway, and you're putting so much anxiety and fear into yourself that you're never going to be able to move. So don't do it. Action drives out thought, and if you want to get rid of your fear, if you want to make a change and actually, start gaining some momentum and, improving your life and your business, then just jump in. The button's below, just scroll down, click that green button, enroll in the Consulting Accelerator right now. Action drives out thought, and that's the quickest way to get rid of fear and get you on your path. So now I want to talk to you about case study number 3. And this one is from Dave Rogenmoser. And you might have heard Dave's story in the testimonials which I sent out to you, earlier. And Dave has an amazing story. Dave started with me when he was working a 9-to-5 job. So absolutely from scratch. He had no idea about business, no idea about consulting, no idea about anything. He was only making like 40 grand a year in a 9-to-5. And he just knew things could be better. He knew that the rest of his life was going to be pretty miserable if he just kept working at the same company. He wanted more and he wanted to change. So he decided to, and he saw one of my Facebook ads, he enrolled in the webinar, just like you did. He watched the webinar and he thought, if I don't make a change in my life, nothing's going to change. And so he thought, I'm just going to trust Sam, I'm going to trust his process, and I'm just going to do the work and I'm going to see what happens. And he was totally uncertain. He had a ton of fear. And he says that himself in his testimonial video. He was totally uncertain. He was skeptical as hell. But he just took the plunge. He enrolled and he just went to work. He started doing the work. And, Dave went from working a 9-to-5 job, making around 40 grand a year, and he only had about $300 or $400 in his bank account. And it's been 12 months since Dave enrolled in my program. And right now, Dave's making $105,000 a month. So he went from 9-to-5 job, massive fear. He was broke. And now he's making $105,000 a month. Now, 105 grand a month, that's over $1.2 million a year. There's 7 figures, that's million. That's big money. And so Andrew's more than $2 million a year. Dave's more than $1.2 million a year. And Brittany's verging on $1 million a year, and I know she's going to crack it in the next couple of months. So, here are 3 case studies of people who went from, really not knowing anything about business to having a ton of fear, a ton of uncertainty, and a ton of skepticism. You know, they were confronted with this, but they got through it. They started their businesses and they achieved massive things in short periods of time. You know, these are real people, these are real stories, and they're in all different niches. You know, Andrew's helping accountants, Brittany Brown helps people with binge eating, and Dave Rogenmoser helps web designers. So, you know, all different niches, all different walks of life. And, you know, this is what the Consulting Accelerator has been able to help people achieve. So, you know, this video today, I shot it to help you get through your fear, because I can tell that a lot of people have been writing in with all of these different questions, and the underlying theme is that they've got a bit of skepticism. They want to do it, they want to make a change, but they're not 100% convinced. And I can tell you that you will never be 100% convinced. You could research this for the rest of your life. You could keep gathering facts, you could keep checking things, you could keep making pros and cons lists, you could keep doing this stuff for a lifetime. You could do it for 10 back-to-back lifetimes. You're never going to be 100% convinced. And that's because, you know, when you start your own business, you're not 100% certain of anything. If it was a game where you were 100% certain of everything, well, you know, everyone would be doing it. There's always going to be some uncertainty. And that's just what that's just what you're faced with when you want to make an improvement in your life. And you've just got to understand, first of all, that the uncertainty and the fear and the skepticism, it's all normal. I faced it, everyone else faces it, all of my case studies faced it, and you know, if you're facing it yourself right now, it's totally normal. And what you need to do is, first of all, just understand that, okay, it is normal, it's not just me, and it's not just this weird fear I have. And second of all, take action. You know, if you take action, it will drive out the thought, and you know, you'll get on your way, you'll be able to start taking action, you'll be able to start building up momentum and start getting results. You know, all of these case studies would still be back on the starting line, looking ahead, if they never jumped in and took action. And I can tell you that if they were still back on the starting line looking forward at everyone else who's winning, they would be very, very, you know, upset and depressed. You know, one thing which I'm sure causes more pain for everyone than uncertainty is the regret of what they could have become. And a lot of people, they always say, well, I'm not 100% sure of doing this, and I think it would be safer if I didn't do it. But let me tell you, this small amount of fear which you have about doing it, in 6 months from now, or in a year from now, or 2 years from now, the pain you will have and the regret you will have from not doing this and seeing other people who actually did it and seeing them get results will be far greater than the small little discomfort you have right now. And you don't want to live a life where you look back and you're like, I could have done that, I could have been one of those people. You know, I can guarantee you that I'm going to keep printing and keep making case studies like this month after month after month. It's just going to keep happening. These people are going to keep coming out, keep coming into my program. I'm going to help them start consulting businesses, and they're just going to keep going out and making more money, more success. This is going to keep happening. That's a fact. The question is do you want to be one of those people? Or do you just want to be one of those people that stands on the sidelines and watches everyone else get success and get what they want? And I can tell you that you don't want to be that person on the sidelines, because it is very painful to see others do what you could have done yourself. And this pretty much wraps up this video today. I wanted to really create this to help you guys make a decision, to help you guys get through that fear and uncertainty and skepticism. I also wanted to share some case studies with you. I really hope this video has served you. I hope it's enabled you to get through your fear. And I encourage you right now to scroll down, click that green button, and enroll in the Consulting Accelerator program. It's my life's work. It's a 6-week online course which shows you how to start your own consulting business from scratch and get your first high-value client in just 42 days' time. So that's the big promise, and that's what you and I will be working together to achieve in just 6 weeks' time. So scroll down, click that green button, let's get you enrolled right now. Because like I said, these case studies, they're going to keep coming. I'm going to keep manufacturing success, and it's going to keep going out into the marketplace, and there's no way that you're going to be able to miss it. And so if you're one of those people that just stays on the sidelines and watches other people achieve success, you don't want to be that person. I can tell you that the discomfort and regret from not doing something which you could have done and seeing others do it is not how you want to live.